Welcome back to day 113 of our chess journey to 1500 ELO and chess.com. So for a while now we've been edging on that border to 1500 ELO, hoping today we might just break closer and maybe get a win, bringing us maybe one game away from our goal. Let's just jump on ahead into our game. And this might just be a symbolic win, because if we win today, it's going to be our first win against a 1500 or higher rated opponent. Seems like we'll get a Najdorf. Which variation? We get this. Now this is a move and this is a move. We'll play this, maybe followed by this and this, which I know is quite typical here. We're playing Fahim Kse from Turkey, right? Yes. The bishop there comes out. Let's bring our bishop out. Play h6. This, I think, is the line I know the most in the Najdorf, but I don't know it all that much. At this point, my knowledge kind of ends, and we'll be playing on our own. This might be a move. This diagonal seems nice. The knight might come here. If it comes here, we'll have to be wary this and this, and we don't quite have this diagonal that easily. This happens. We could play this. This pawn here might become a hook there, which might not be ideal. Let's evaluate this quickly. If the queen comes out, what am I talking about even? There is still a pawn here defending, so I don't think we have to worry. Still, this is playable, connecting the rooks as well. It's probably okay. We should try to time the d5 pawn break at some point, which is quite typical in the Sicilian. I think we might want to come here with the knight, although we have to be wary. Our queen is going to have limited mobility there, and it might get difficult to develop the queen and double the rooks, and connect them rather. This pawn only held by the knight here. We could start out with this move, in which case this might become a threat to grab the pawn. Although we do not quite want to overextend, we'll have to see what we end up doing with this, and this might be annoying as well in some positions. But ideally, I just like to get our pieces out and see what we do from there. It seems our opponent here is out of theory as well, which is quite optimistic, because then we won't have to play against Stockfish. It's not my favorite opponent per se. h3, taking away this, might prepare this, but I don't expect it to. Let's evaluate this quickly. If takes, takes. Honestly, I think we might have time to play d5 here. We're not quite developed yet, but if we don't play it now, it might be difficult to play it later on, and we might be slightly strangled for space. It's just, I don't think we have a great response to this pawn push yet, which is why I'm kind of considering delaying the move. Might play this first to take away this, but then we don't have the queen supporting and we can't push. So maybe instead of going d5 right now, we might just develop and then try to set up the move at a later point in time. So let's do just that, play here, and this is going to exert pressure on this pawn here, which of course can be defended, but it's going to cost some resources for our opponent to invest. There could be a pawn storm coming on the king side by our opponent. I'm curious to see if that's played or not. I don't quite know this opponent, so it might be a positional player, a defensive player, well, it might be an offensive player. Considering they play the Nightorf, my bet might be on more of a offensive/tactical playstyle. Which is ironic when I say it, because I don't think that's representative for my playstyle, but still I do enjoy the Nightorf. So at move 10 we've got 14.5 minutes, which is great. The queen here can't quite do a whole lot, luckily. It could come up here or here, and then maybe put a rook behind, or our opponent could play this, in which case takes, and there will be some pressure here, not ideal. So let's try to come up with a good move here. Honestly, it's not all that easy, at least I don't think so. Does this work? Then if takes, then we just lose the pawn. So if this is played, can we push? And maybe look for this. Might be a good idea, but our opponent opts to go for a3, which is a slower move, and that does not quite threaten us just yet. I think because of this, we'll probably just go ahead and develop our bishop. I'm still opting to develop the bishop first, because this kind of blocks our stuff here, and this applies some immediate pressure against the pawn. And now we control this c6 square, so once this is played, the knight can't jump in and annoy us. Which I have to say I did only just see now retrospectively, but the point still stands, I guess. Okay, so how about this move? Still, this might be an option, but does the pawn become difficult to defend there or not? This pawn here can't easily come up and help it, but this might force us back here, in which case this knight might have to go here to develop, which is not an ideal square. We could exert some pressure still. If this is played, I think we're good. Takes, and we go here. We have some pressure, and we will just be trading down equal material there. This kind of blocks our idea, so I think I might prefer this. And just kind of targeting this pawn afterwards. And if this is played, I think I kind of prefer our central control, and we might just try to play around here. So let's push the pawn, I think. The pawn here doesn't have any defense yet, so our opponent is going to have to invest some moves to try and defend it. And we can attack it at least 3 times in a row. This can be played though, and we might only have 2 attackers. Still, I think our prospects attacking this pawn might be quite decent. If it pushes, of course. If it pushes. Otherwise, we'll see this, and we might trade down as I calculated. It seems we'll have this on the board. Now it's just a matter here, I guess, of making sure we don't blunder our bishop. Does our opponent have an in-between move here that makes our life difficult? Let's see. Well, this knight could move, first of all. If it moves, let's say back here, then there is another attacker. Can we defend this again? Actually, we might not be able to do so. But we could maybe take this. This might be played. This. We could have something like this, and we're just trading down a whole lot of stuff. I don't think it's bad, at least. So let's go here. I didn't quite want to take with the bishop here. Did not quite feel right giving up the bishop when we do not necessarily have to do so. The knight takes. Seems we're just going to be trading down. I guess our hand is first. This is played. We're not really threatening this knight. I don't love our queen's positioning. Okay, so c3 here. I don't know if it's a good move or not by our opponent. My intuition here tells me at least to start off with this. So we have some pressure down here. We don't want to play this yet because, well, we just trade down all the stuff on the board. And I'm not quite the biggest fan of doing so. I'm looking for some tactics here. I'm not seeing a whole lot. This might be slightly annoying for our opponent, targeting the knight, but we don't have enough pressure there yet to make a lot out of it. So maybe just coming here first with the rook. The rook is held here by the bishop, the queen is defended here, so I think this looks okay. This square here is importantly held by the knight, and well, the queen as well now. The queen leaves this file here, probably looking to replace itself with a rook. Can we come here? Then if this is played, and we take, our opponent can take like this. Let's have a quick look here. Do we even want to take here? We might want to dodge the d file altogether with our queen, but I think I might prefer doing so by starting off with this move. And if this is played, thing is, I just do not quite love what happens here. but it does not seem all that bad necessarily. It's just our opponent gets the file first and might trade down, but if they do trade here, I don't know, but I don't think this is bad. It's just I don't see a better alternative. I'm not a big fan of just trading down all the pieces on the board, if we can help it, as that tends to be quite drawish. Here, if this is played, this might be an idea actually. If we're able to triple up, this knight can't quite go in here because then we win material. We'll just have to have a quick look at what happens now with this stuff. Let's say, for example, the knight jumps in here, threatening this with a check and threatening the fork, and this as well. What do we do then? If we take and the bishop takes, seems we're just down material, so we can't come to this square, at least not yet. Which I guess leaves us with the option of coming to c6 with the knight first. Alternatively, no, we can't double like this because the knight is in the way, so I think we'll come up here. I don't quite know who's better here, if anyone. Seems quite even, but it's going to be a matter of how the transition to the endgame works out. I think this might be better for our opponent. The reason I'm saying so is because if we ever take here, it's not going to be a forced sequence per se, because it's not an immediate check, which it would be if this rook moves and checks like this. The rook does come over this way, but if we take, our opponent takes, yeah, it seems more drawish than I would like it to be, but I don't see any good ways of avoiding this knight trade at least. And then this, we might have to go here maybe and play something like this, and we'll just have to convert this position here if possible. If this is played, I think it might be good for us because it leaves our opponent with a weakness. So let's come here. I'm expecting our opponent to double rooks, in which case I think we'll be going rook to d6 and just trading the rooks off. Alternatively, there might be this, and if this is played, we could have this move. Let me try to evaluate this quickly. This doesn't work because we take, so that's out of the question. Takes, if this is played, we come down here. If takes and this is played, as I mentioned, this is what I wanted to look at. We activate our bishop. The rook has to move. Could come back and we might just end up trading bishops, but then once the rook takes here, we are left with the move, grabbing the file. And then I guess the rook could come over and try to coordinate with the queen in some way, but it might take a bit too long to create any tangible threats. So let's come up here. Our opponent expects the move. We'll come here. Either way, whichever way the rook takes, or moves rather, we grab like this. If this is played, we take maybe. Take rather. Or wait a second. Here, takes, probably takes, and here. And we have the file, meaning I think we win the rook endgame. Hopefully. Okay. Is this not just a mistake? What is our opponent seeing here? I don't see a threat here. So if this is played, is there something more tangible here? The queen can't quite come down here. The rook can't sacrifice itself. So this, and we have the move here, in which case we probably grab this file, and we have a weakness to target. Yeah, I don't see what our opponent is thinking here, so let's just come here. This move should be okay. The queen can't come here, here, or we take it, and we are left with a better position. And here, the queen can't come here. If we go here and the queen tries to slide over, it does not have a concrete threat just yet. And well, we could always just move pawns or defend in some other way, I think. Essentially leading us to the conclusion here. This might be play... Oh, wait a second. This is a move. And there our opponent might try to force the pawns back together, which would be a creative way of playing here. I didn't quite see this in advance. Can we play this to prevent it? But then the queen comes in here and we give it a good square. And I do not quite love this. If we want to defend this, I think it's a plane that's outside. Might be. Hopefully the sound is not too loud for you. Is this the move? It is quite committal, and I'm not the biggest fan. But it might give us the file and kind of shut this rook here down into a little box on this side here for the time being. This and this is what we give, but the queen doesn't have an infiltration because of our queen, at least for the time being. And I think we might be okay here. I like to be a bit ambitious and play for more than a draw, which is why I'm doing this instead of just trading the rooks. But now the queen could grab the file. Might be an option. It doesn't. Then I guess we do it. This, I think, is a mistake. It allows us to, first of all, grab the file. Second of all, it closes out the rook here, and it closes down the coordination here with the queen. Let's grab the file. Well, the rook could come around here, but not if we grab this with two pieces. We can't target this pawn with our rook because of this, but the queen can keep a target here, which might be in our best interest for the time being. Or well, maybe not if we decide to double up here instead. And maybe play for this. And maybe even force the queens off the board if we're able to. Followed by a rook here and kind of just going pawn grabbing, hunting, and taking as much as possible. So the queen comes over here. What does this accomplish? I don't think it does a whole lot. We can't utilize this diagonal though because of our pawn, so it's not as though we can check the king if we force it here. The rook and the queen. The rook can't come here and coordinate. Could come here, but in this case we have our defense going for us. So I think we'll just slide on over and grab this activity. Was looking at some stuff down here. Might be annoying in some lines. Let's evaluate this. Unfortunately here we can't come here and trade off the queens because of this pawn. So that's kind of annoying. If we go here, the queen comes here, and we're forced here, I guess. But then I don't think our opponent has a whole lot per se. Or necessarily, it gets kind of difficult to force the queen away from this annoying position of hitting our a pawn. Let's say the queen comes here though, and we go here, forcing the king here. Now, if we come in here and our opponent takes this pawn, we kind of defend our pawn by taking this pawn, and the pawns are split, which might be to our advantage. Additionally, we might double up together with this rook here and come down here and hit the king. It's just this rook has to go first. Don't quite love this. We just give our opponent this, I guess. There isn't a whole lot going on here, but if our opponent plays one, maybe two inaccurate moves, I think we might be able to play for something. I think our opponent might just want to go for something quick, in which case this, and I think we are in a better position because our opponent killed off their diagonal counterplay. This check still doesn't do a whole lot. If we go here and the queen hasn't moved yet, it could parry our threat by going there. Okay. So our opponent here is playing, looking for this. And now this is targeted if we move our queen because of the pin. I would like to come up here or here This might be an option as well. This defends this. It's just we can't do a whole lot from this square. So maybe just coming up with a rook first might be a good idea. Let's do that. We don't have a lot of time. There might have been a slightly more accurate move there. I'd even go as far as saying there probably was, but considering our time situation, we'll just play solid moves quickly. As long as we don't blunder. I mean, as long as we don't blunder, I guess our opponent should probably blunder at some point, or at least we do not play for a loss. Considering king to h7 here, moving out of the pin. This would allow our queen to move. Here, and we still have pressure on the pawn. Honestly, I'm quite happy the queen rather moved over here, because I do not quite see our opponent having the resources to checkmate us. This is a welcome sight, I think. Our opponent comes back, and now we have this. The queen can't target the rook because it's not on a light square complex. Well, it could go here maybe. Let me have a quick look at this. If this is played, I guess we come back with the rook. But then this pawn is lost. Let's have a look at this, followed by this. No, honestly, it does not feel convincing there. Maybe this move, but then this pawn can never be defended by another pawn. Here. I think this has to be played to take away f5, although I'm not quite sure. Or queen to f5 rather. Now what does our opponent do? We cover this. We'll have to play quickly now. Nothing new there. Might want to come up with the king at some point to defend our pawns. Importantly, if this pawn ever moves, we get free stuff. This pawn here is hit, so let's just come up with the king first, as I mentioned, and defend our stuff. 50 seconds to 5 minutes. That's our current situation here. There is no infiltration here at the moment. If this is played, we're well defended. It's just this pawn here is slightly weaker than I would have liked for it to be. Okay, now I think it's probably about time we enter our opponent's position. And if this is played, this is taken with a check, which is not ideal. So let's say the queen comes here, the rook can't defend here, could go here. then we kind of lose our activity and piece coordination. So let's have another look at this first. We have to address this because it comes with a check. Okay, and we can't push because then takes. Our opponent allows this, which I think is great for us. It's just this and this, doesn't seem fun, so maybe coming here, disallowing the rook from defending might be a good idea. The rook is still kind of in a cage there, which should be nice for us. Now we'll grab the pawn. I guess our opponent wants to come down here or here and trade some stuff. Let's come here actually. If this is played, we just walk up. Or do we? Then this pawn might be lost. Not quite, we can push it twice, and we should be in a good position. This is not a threat, I think. This might be annoying, so if the king moves up, we'll have to see what we do. Now this pawn is hanging. This could be played though, to defend. If this is played, do we want to sack our f-pawn? No, this is played. But now I think we have this. And we could be playing with a passed pawn, which should be quite nice. The rook can't defend. If this, I think we still take, and this, and we end up another pawn up, and even another pawn at some point. This is a creative defense. If we take, the rook holds their stuff together. But here I think we still get to take the pawn at the end of the line. I don't want to give our opponent here a passed pawn. So we'll be going for this, and if our opponent does not want to trade rooks, we get both of the pawns. If this is played, we come here. I always love when it comes to endgames because it's a lot easier to calculate. This is my kind of territory. This might be played, still we would go here. And if takes, 4 pawns against 2 should be winning. This doesn't work. Here our opponent goes for this, okay. Yes, we are able to push this pawn first. Shouldn't be much of an issue. This is still playable, but we can come here. Or maybe not quite. This might have been slightly inaccurate. We will lose our a-pawn probably. But I think we should get more for it. I looked at this move, but now we just get another pawn, I think. If this is played, well, oh, still actually this is not trivial. We have to defend our H and G pawn, I think. Or maybe not. This, and we have this pawn. We don't want to lose this pawn with a check though, so let's come down here first. This pawn will fall, this will fall, we'll have our E pawn to play for. This is not as trivial of a conversion as I hoped for it to be. But still, I think this should be good. Here, if this is played, I guess we come here. We could play h4 at some point, if given the chance to do so. I think this is the only move. Defending our rook. The pawn pushes. We have to stay on this 4th rank, I think, with the rook. Let's move here. Next move, we can force the king back, I think. This could be played, in which case h5 might have to be played. Or well, here we might start off with this. And then maybe playing this, because then first of all the king gets forced back, and we can get our king up, hitting this pawn. Could get hit from behind. We'll have to see how it plays out, to be honest. This is not a move because of our rook. Importantly, that's... Oh. Did I miss something? Oh yeah, this and this is a move. That's creative. I did not see this at all. But here... I think it might have been a free pawn, just didn't have time to calculate. If this was taken... Oh no, it wasn't. Would have lost our rook. Here, and we go here. I think would be our response. Our opponent here is playing quite well though. Have to give them credit where credit is due. Luckily the king can't come in and target our pawn because of our rook cutting it off. Here, and this is forced. And then this pawn might be in a dire position. Any other moves? Well, this should be no good. This is not playable. Could our opponent come in from behind? Maybe. If this is played, I think we might start off by pushing the pawn maybe. Or no, if this is played, if this is played, I think we come here. And if we get checked, we block. But that might not be good actually, because if takes, our opponent gets in. But no, then I think we have opposition. which should be good. So let's meet this move with this. This pawn could be hit. And this, and here I think we get a better setup, getting the rook behind the passed pawn perhaps. We get checked here though, which is slightly annoying. I think we'll have to come up. Here, this. It's definitely not trivial, this game. Our opponent is making us fight for it. Here. And if this. We have to defend from behind maybe, but then we lose the pawn still. Maybe here. We're still playing an increment here. Luckily our opponent is running out of time and might be more prone to blundering. They're down below 1 minute. We'll just have to keep playing okay moves and we might see our chance. Let's push first. Let's come up here so we can't get checked. Our opponent has to make a move. Let's create another threat. This is becoming a problem. We are going to get checked here. We'll have to play this. This pawn might push. Well, actually not. Wouldn't work. This is becoming an issue. Let's come down. This loses. We have to come back down again to prevent our opponent from checking us. Let's come up, try to win this pawn. And hopefully we should be able to shoulder the king after we trade off this pawn. We'll see this, 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 this. No, our opponent comes up, which I did not expect. Okay. I guess we'll come back 1 square. Our opponent has to make a move. Where do they go? The rook can't move, this pawn can't move, the king can't go here. This is likely to be played and then we get up, which is a better setup for us. Let's come up. This might be played, as I mentioned. The good thing here is our opponent is the one that has to make a move. If this is played, don't quite know. Could go here. I don't know if this is good for us. I guess it's not. It looks quite drawish. So let me evaluate this quickly. Problem is this square. Can we move around? I think we might have time to do so. Just slowly come up. But then our opponent might trade here first. They're asking for a draw. I don't think so. Let's come up here and then we can win this pawn. Maybe. This is likely to be played, should be the only move. And this, does this play for a win or not? Let's go for it. The rook takes. Let's see here if this is played. We might have to come up. Looks quite annoying, but it is how it is. Maybe coming here first of all and cutting off the king might be good. Or maybe not. Let's push. 1 second there. Okay, so this is played. Let's check the king first. If this is played, this might be our response. If the king comes here, it's cut off, in which case I think we should be winning. It goes here, so I think we have time to push the pawn one more square. The king seems kind of in jail. The rook as well doesn't have a lot of mobility. This, I think we go here. This is played, okay. I think we'll come up. Now, we might have this in some positions. We'll just have to see here, I guess. After all, we are the ones playing for a win, so we should try to push our advantage. Maybe coming over with the rook might be good. Let's do so. To try and create something here, because otherwise this is not as ideal as we might hope. This, and our opponent can't check us. We might be creating a mating net even in some positions here if we get something like this. Here, and this is checkmate. This can be played. Okay. Guess we have to drop back. If the king comes here, we have to check so we don't lose the pawn. But now I think this might be a draw actually, because our king is cut off. Maybe we'll come closer with the rook again, so we can block off here if needs be. But this outside passed pawn is generally a drawn position, I think. So I don't think we want to trade rooks. So we can't block off here to get this. That's a draw, I'm pretty sure. Oh, this might just be a way of forcing some kind of annoying perpetual. We have to come back to not lose our pawn. Can we play this now? I think we might be able to. And if our opponent misplays there, we might have something. Let's just go for it, I think. I think our opponent has identified a decent drawing mechanism here. We can't join with the king, and as long as they stay here, they should be in a good spot. Let's see if we can get something done still. Likely our opponent might just move back and forth here, in which case we don't have a lot here. Maybe coming here might be okay. Let's just try to do something here. We can't access the pawn. We shouldn't move the king away from this, because then our opponent gets in. This doesn't quite work. Let's see if I can find something. Looks quite drawish. The rook comes over here. The issue here is if we go here and trade rooks, it doesn't look good. We can't get here. Oh. That's a mistake. Anyways, shouldn't have lost. Should have at worst been a draw. Thanks for the game. Well played to our opponent. Let's jump on ahead into the game review and have a look here. I'm curious if we had a win at some point. We probably did, but let's see still. Yeah, we were the only ones winning. Had a win later on in the game here and earlier on as well. 2200 game rating average. A testament to a well-played game. Let's have a look here and see how it was played. Up to this point, all good moves rather. This was not the best move. Apparently queen to c7 was good. Still, it's not a massive mistake. This, though, we had a lead. Should have just kept developing. I kind of rushed this move. This was still okay. So here we got a pretty good position. Should have apparently went here. It kind of sucks losing in time there. The move didn't reach the server, but it is what it is. Nonetheless, it is unfortunate. This was decisively winning. Let's have a look here. Well, this is just another way of doing the same, but we kind of strangle our opponent's position. But this was played. We got to this position, which was still quite good. Apparently here, should have taken like this, and if this was played, I guess we were still in a great position. This, and here we could have taken and won this pawn. Apparently this is not best, but it's winning still. This was not ideal. Should have grabbed this, and if our opponent went in here, taking this pawn. First of all, is this... No, it doesn't quite work apparently. Yeah, this just looks crushing. Kind of blundered a better position here, which is unfortunate. Which move was it that lost the remainder of our advantage? This move. Okay. But still here, well, this was a draw for a while, but we did apparently have one more chance, which I missed. Let's go through all the moves here. All good moves. So where was our chance at? Oh, so apparently this, forcing this. I'm saying oh as though I'm seeing the reason. I don't. Let's try to follow out and see the moves here. Let's have a look at this. If this is played, we're allowed to push. If we push immediately, is this not a lost pawn? No, because of this. I didn't see this, unfortunately. We had a brief win there. Instead we got into this position, and I, for the first time in a while, kind of missed the clock going down at the end there, and we lost our game today. So we're back down to 1478 rather. But we are still close. Every day we might just come closer to our goal. Anyways, guys, thanks to our opponent for the game, Fehimkse from Turkey. Thanks for watching to the end of the video. This has been our game for today, and I hope to see you all tomorrow. Bye bye.